Hello, hello. This might be a little grainy and might be a little grainy, might be a little dark. I don't know. But hopefully this will be helpful. I just want to make sure that I get a chance to come in. Oh, yeah, that light's behind me. I need to fix that. Give me a second. Yeah, this doesn't want to move. So, what I'll do, see if I can turn on some lights. If I can figure out how to turn on the lights. Give me a second, y'all. See if I can turn on some lights. That might be better. I hope it's better. I'm gonna try one more time to get this. Yeah, it's not gonna move the way that it was put in there. So let me turn this way a little. Yeah, it's a little bit better. Okay, so I am Donna Marie Johnson, host of the Plant Your Seeds of Transformation podcast. And we've been focusing the topics towards talking about toxic perfectionism. And yeah, so in my quest to be consistent, I neglected to take time off for the summer, which I usually do. And now I'm regretting that. I should have just wound things down in June because I don't have time to do this in July. But I will be back. But I am taking time off. This is the anniversary of my original business, which was Genesis LLC. And that anniversary is in 2 days. That would be, this is 20. Yeah, we started Genesis LLC, was incorporated, or yeah, it was incorporated back in 2012. So this is our 10th anniversary, but I'm actually dissolving that business. And that was more of a marketing and business services business. My new business is Lead Like a Queen Coaching and Consulting LLC. And that was just incorporated this year. And I'm so excited to be stepping into what I believe is my calling, not just doing coaching because I thought it was a good idea. My original business, it was more so that I had a mentor that told me that I should be doing marketing for other people. That never did work out, not the way that I expected it to work out. That was not my calling. That was something that I got some good learning experiences from. I'm grateful that I had the chance to run Genesis LLC. I'm grateful that I was able to impact the people that I impacted, make the connections, the new friendships that I made, the new working relationships that I made through doing marketing for other people and providing different types of business consulting services. However, one of the situations that came forth when that became apparent when I was doing marketing for other people is it became apparent that I'm a teacher at heart, and that's always going to come through. The problem with that when you are marketing for other people is they don't want to learn, they just want you to do the work. And so that became a real tension between the way that I provided marketing services was very um, consultative, um, very um, teaching oriented. And my clients they didn't want that. They just wanted somebody to do the marketing work for them and just get that done and keep it moving. They didn't want to learn anything. And that became frustrating for me because I could see the holes in their marketing that needed to be filled. And I had to make a decision. Hey, I want to serve um, people better. And I was podcasting back then too. I want to serve my audience better. I want to serve people better by teaching them how to do the marketing better. So I attempted to pivot from doing the marketing for people to coaching, marketing strategy coaching. And that also, it just never really took off the way that I wanted it to because that's a highly competitive space. And I had no idea until after I started doing it how competitive that space is. I mean, I even had friends who weren't in marketing that by the time I got my business ramped up, they were teaching marketing and doing marketing and everything too. And I'm like, that's not even your business. Marketing, the marketing industry is highly competitive because anybody can do it. It's so easy to do it. The tools to do marketing are so readily available and very affordable, and many times completely free. And so, what I found happening is that I just never really got that much steam with my marketing strategy services, marketing strategy coaching services, and it became very frustrating for me. Um, when I actually did get a team together, um, I wasn't bringing in the clients. And then I decided, hey, I need to go to business school so that I can do a better job building my business because then I have a better understanding of the business fundamentals. Up until that point that I went back to business school, I had never had formal business school training. So what ended up happening is I let all of my team members go because I didn't want to put them on hold for 2 years while I finished a business degree. And good thing because 2 years turned into 4 years because circumstances in our family changed and required more of my attention. And so I wasn't able to do school full time like I did when I first started graduate school. So once graduate school got about a year in, I found myself as a full time caregiver. So I could not do school full time, but thank goodness I didn't give up. I got the support that I needed from my school and from my family. And I was able to go part time and finish the degree. So I finished my degree, and in 2021, I received my Master's of Arts in Executive Leadership. Now, this degree is a degree that is geared towards supporting what I already do through my business, which is writing and speaking and researching and providing coaching services. Now, the coaching services that I have been providing in the past were geared towards marketing, but now I am a life coach and I'm being trained through an executive coaching program to do life coaching. And eventually, I will also seek certification. Not quite there yet. I'm just taking classes right now. And I've learned so much. I'm still learning. Um, in no way will I ever know it all, but I've learned so much that I'm able to apply now. And I am building my skills, my coaching skills. I'm building my understanding. I am starting to find ways to apply it, even though I don't have coaching clients right now. I have mentees, but I don't have paying coaching clients, and that's okay. We'll get there. So at this time, my focus really is on, for this year, my focus has been on the Plant Your Seeds of Transformation podcast. It's really a podcast that highlights what information you might need so that you can understand what it takes for you to change your life in a sustainable way. Transformation is about sustainable change, not just making a quick adjustment and then going back to that same old thing you used to do in 5 days, right? Transformation is about sustainable change. It gives you, you get the tools, you gain the tools that you need so that you can be that person that you really want to be, who is just living in that change. It's Transformation is real change. It's authentic change. It's change that gets you, helps you work from your core and live from your overflow. So it helps you work deep down in your soul. And then as you inside are changing, you become you, it's just it's a lifestyle thing. It's not just a fad, right? For instance, if you have heard people talking about keto, eating keto, keto is a type of way of eating that actually changes the way that your body processes your the way your body metabolizes things, the biochemicals inside your body, the chemicals, the substances in your body actually change and change the way that your body burns fat and sugar and processes calories. So people that do that for a short period of time, they could lose weight or whatever, but sometimes people can incorporate that as an actual lifestyle change. They're not just trying to lose the weight for a month or something. They actually want to eat that for a lifestyle. You know, people can incorporate change into their lives as a lifestyle change versus doing something for a month. That is not real change. That's literally just doing something for a month. It's not a transformation. And so the Plant Your Seeds of Transformation podcast has featured uh, primarily coaches who provide insights and wisdom on things you can do to change. Especially, we talk about the topic of perfectionism, how you can transform out of toxic perfectionism and give yourself the change that you need so you can be happy, so you can enjoy your relationships. Perfectionism can drive a wedge between you and the people you love and even the things you love because sometimes people don't know how to let go and let things be good enough. So, I really want to encourage you to go listen to those past episodes. It is so important to hear different perspectives on the topic of perfectionism because it looks so different from person to person. And you need to understand, what does that look like for you? The way perfectionism looks like for you is not going to be the same as what it looks like for everybody else. So let me give you an example. For one person, perfectionism is just being totally stuck. They feel like inside they can't be good enough or do good enough. And so they just don't do anything, right? But for another person, perfectionism is doing too much. Like you have a book you're editing and you just never stop editing it. You just keep going and going. You're in the middle of having a conversation with someone that you love, but your mind is in another region thinking about this book. And you may even interrupt the conversation or the dinner or whatever and go to work. That's perfectionism. When you can't let stuff go sometimes, that can be perfectionism. Um, perfectionism for some people is that they can't pull the plug. Let's say that you have been working on a book manuscript. You've been holding on to that thing for 5 years. When are you gonna there's an expression, poop or get off the pot. You heard of that? Sometimes that can be perfectionism too. So it can look different ways for different people. Hearing the perspectives of the different leaders that we've had on the podcast might help you to really think about your own stuff and help you to gain some perspective or some insight or become a little bit more aware so that you can make some different choices for yourself. If nothing else, I hope it spurs you to get help, get support, join a community. Some of the ladies, one of the upcoming episodes will be a woman who has created a community not exclusively for Black women leaders, but it's a community that's inclusive of Black women leaders. And, people, leaders are here for you. Women leaders are here for you to help you learn, to gain insights and become more self aware, to feel like you can do this, you can get past this toxic perfectionism. Um, so I hope that my podcast will be a resource for you for that. But also, I will be in the future doing more recommendations of other books, podcasts, other resources, YouTube channels, other resources I found that might also give you some really good insights and perspectives regarding this topic of perfectionism. I didn't even realize that there are other podcasters out there who are talking about this topic too. And man, they've got, for instance, and this is what I wanted to definitely recommend today because I felt like this was just one of the best. Give me a second. This podcast really blew me away. It's a specific episode of the Psychology Today, I think it's called podcast. And I think I saved it in my phone. Man, now. But I'll see if I can put in the show notes. But there is a specific episode of, I believe it's Psychology Today. It's by the APA, the American Psychological Association. They did a podcast just about therapy regarding perfectionism. And they were specifically addressing perfectionism in teenagers and how it can lead to self hatred and suicide. Now, this is something that I've talked about in this podcast before, and something I've kind of harped on a little bit because I'm on a mission. I know how it is to be in a place of self hatred to the point where you can even get into self harm or even suicide. And one of my big goals for this podcast is to help save some lives. I'm tired of hearing these stories of high achievers ending their lives. And it kind of sideswipes everybody because they don't realize that just because a person is high achieving does not mean that they're together. It doesn't even mean that they're happy. It just means they're high achieving. And so we've got to do better, especially with Black women. We've got to do better to support women leaders, especially Black women leaders, with understanding what perfectionism looks like so that we can help save some lives. So that's one of my prime objectives is because I've been there. That's one of my prime objectives to help you all who are listening and sharing this with people that you love to help you get this so that we can help save some lives. So if you or someone you know is a high achiever and struggling, please tell them to get support. Please tell them to read, to listen, to watch, whatever. Read blog articles, watch YouTube videos, listen to podcasts, and learn about this topic and get more awareness around it. So that once that awareness is there, then that'll help you to desire to get help. For me, when I struggled with the self hatred, I wasn't even as big as I am now. Man, if I had had the self hatred as large as I am now, it would not be good for me. But I actually overcame that self hatred a while ago. But I didn't really realize that it was rooted in perfectionism until recent years. And once I started understanding that, as I've been in therapy, working through therapy, once I started understanding that perfectionism really could be a root of self hatred, it was like all the light bulbs went off in my head and made a huge, I've grown more since I've become more aware about that than any other time in my life. And I'm so grateful for having this now because I know that there are many other women who've been dealing with similar things. And we all need to know that we're not alone. It's very difficult to talk about this. This takes a level of vulnerability that many people, especially leaders, will never share. And that's why they end up killing themselves and nobody was even aware that there was a problem because that vulnerability is scary. And most leaders will never open up and share that, not in a public way. And so even if you don't want to share about your vulnerability publicly, you at least need to get help. If you feel that you're not safe from yourself, you hate yourself, you're derisive to yourself, talk down to yourself in your head or even out loud, you need to get help from a therapist. And I also wanted to recommend, and I'll put this in the show notes, in addition to the APA podcast that I was talking about, I also want to recommend Therapy for Black Girls. They have a podcast, excuse me, and they also have a community where you can join. There's a fee for joining them. I'm not an affiliate with them or anything. Very good resource, Therapy for Black Girls. Very good resource for Black women who want to access a Black therapist, a Black female therapist. They have great resources around that. So I will leave those recommendations for the APA podcast and for the Therapy for Black Girls podcast. I'll leave their information in the show notes so that you can, and the show notes will be over at plantyourseeds.show. All right. So I'll make sure that I make good show notes there for you so you can take a closer look and see if those resources might be helpful for you. You have a teen, if you have a child, I don't even know. I'm trying to remember if the APA podcast, if that was specifically about teens or just children in general. But anyway, excuse me, I think it was mostly about teens because teens are the ones many times that are pushing and striving towards different goals for their future careers, future school and all of that. And so that podcast was really, really helpful and really relevant. I actually asked one of my kids to listen to the podcast so we could discuss it because sometimes these kids, they are just being pushed from all sides. And sometimes they need to catch a break from us as parents, high achieving parents who want our kids to be high achieving too. Sometimes they need to catch a break from these schools that have, sometimes they really do have unrealistic expectations in these schools, and parents have to put the brakes on some of that stuff. Sometimes it's peers, and you don't know what your children's, if you're not paying close attention, you don't know what your children's closest peers are saying, what their parents are saying about different things, especially if your children are in a school around um, kids who come from families with high achievers like doctors and lawyers and things like that. And they talk about it in the podcast. And and this was the case with me when I was in high school. I was in lived in a very wealthy area in Illinois, and many of my peers were from very wealthy families. I mean, these people had like airport strips on their property. And this was back in the 80s. So that was a big deal that they were very wealthy people. Their families, we lived in a community where there were a lot of families who ran major corporations. So yeah, there was a bit of pressure there because these kids came from high achieving families. They were expected to do certain things, and that pressure that was on them, they would rub that off on their peers, me included. And so that pressure to be a high achiever is not just about being smart. It's different than that. It's being smart and more. It's like being smart isn't good enough, right? Here we go with this toxic perfectionism. Being smart's not good enough. You've got to do A, B, C, D, and E also. Um, you've got to take all the honors classes, all the back then we didn't really have AP classes, we had honors classes, but now it's like you got to do these AP classes, you got to do, there's just so much. And when it comes to applying for colleges, you've got to write all these essays, and I mean, it's just much for these kids. There's so much pressure, and if the parents don't help their kids stay rooted and grounded, who will, right? You have to advocate for your own children to make sure that they're safe mentally, emotionally, inside. Um, you got to be able to check up on your kids and make sure they're really okay. I know from personal experience, sometimes we think our kids are okay and they're not. Sometimes high achievers hide what they're really going through. So that's where I'm saying, listening to these podcasts, watching these videos, taking the time to, in my opinion, taking the time to just turn off all outside influences and go away, go on vacation with your children and not have any distractions and just talk. That's where these things can come out. But if you're continuing in that rat race, it's gonna stay hidden. And yeah, so these are things that you can hear about on the podcast I recommended for that the APA did. They did a specific episode, and I believe I might have posted it on one of my social pages, but I'll definitely put it over at plantyourseeds.show. All right, so what you can expect going forward, I have upcoming at least one more upcoming episode for season 3, and then I'll be taking a hiatus for the rest of July. Um, I may start putting more podcast shows just with me out in August, late August, early September, so that I can share more insights with you all and also more recommendations for reading, more recommendations for other podcasts or YouTube channels that you might want to take a look at. But we have one more podcast to share, and I'm looking forward to sharing that. But not today, because I need time to get that together, and I need time to make sure that I'm actually traveling right now, and so I've had to pull back from doing the podcast because this is kind of a work travel situation, and I've gotten behind in school because I had unexpected things going on that I didn't realize were going to take more time. And so I'm full time in class for this last. I think we got 5 weeks left. So yeah, I won't be doing this podcast very much, but I will be posting again by the end of August, early September. All right. If you have any questions for me, you're free to post those in chat for me or go to plantyourseeds.show, PLANT, your YOUR seeds, SEEDS dot SHOW, plantyourseeds.show. You're welcome to go over there and leave a message over there too. You'll see a contact page there. Again, I'm Donna Marie. I'm a coach and an author, and I'm also a mentor. Our mentorship program is also on hiatus for this summer. We'll be coming back, and I will make announcements on when we're going to be bringing the live mentor sessions back. But for now, use this podcast, use my book. You can find out more about me and all the things I do at authordonnamarie.com, authordonnamarie.com, or again, go to plantyourseeds.show to look up how to get in touch with me. And I hope you will reach out to our speakers who are all listed on the guest pages on plantyourseeds.show. We've had Venice Johnson has been one of the recent guests. We've had um, Dr. Patricia Anderson. We've had several other ladies who have joined, and I hope that you'll go check all of them out at plantyourseeds.show. And we've got at least one more coming up before the end of the season. But yeah, we're on hiatus for now, and we'll be back soon. I hope that what I'm doing is serving you well. I'd love to hear your feedback. If you happen to be listening to this on one of the podcast platforms, please rate and comment so that I'll know, what your thoughts are on the episodes. And I do plan to incorporate something I've seen with other podcasts, which I think is a very good way to support the audience. I do want to incorporate shout outs for those who bother to leave ratings and comments. So look for that, I guess, at the end of the season. If you do need to see those resources that I mentioned for the APA and for therapy for Black girls, again, check out plantyourseeds.show. That's it. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you are taking care of yourself, being good to yourself, and enjoying yourself, enjoying your life, enjoying your family, your loved ones, your relationships, your pets, whatever. I hope you're enjoying your summer. Take care. Bye bye.